Look, you might have missed this one yesterday, but it is a very interesting story coming out of the US, a little bit from left field. The Senate in that country has passed legislation that would make daylight saving time permanent starting in the year 2023. The new law would end the twice annual changing of clocks in a move promoted by supporters advocating brighter afternoons and more economic activity. But here at home, there are advocates who'd like to see changes to daylight savings also, including Brisbane Lord Mayor Adrian Schrinner, who recently floated the idea of people in Queensland having a say yet again. Meanwhile, in Western Australia, turns out there's actually a daylight saving party member of Parliament in the state's upper house. His name is Wilson Tucker, and I spoke to him a short time ago.
Yeah, look, I think it's great. It is good to see that the US is taking a progressive approach on the issue of daylight saving. They're basically moving to what they're dubbing as permanent daylight saving time. And so they're trying to avoid rather some of the negatives that they're seeing with changing the clocks and this potential shift in your circadian rhythm, and really trying to maximize the benefits that are well known with daylight saving. So we're talking about the economic benefits and also physical and mental well-being benefits as well. Daylight saving is about aligning your waking hours with your daylight hours. So then really maximizing those afternoon hours after work. You can go and have coffees with friends, walk the dog, whatever that may be, and spend some money down at the shops as well. So there are a lot of well-known benefits for daylight saving, and the US is trying to really lean into them and maximize them.
Yeah, and as I understand it, you lived there in the US, in Seattle, for a number of years. So what was the daylight saving situation where you were?
Yeah, so Seattle does have daylight saving, and it is close to the Canadian border, so you do get those really long afternoons and days as well. Obviously a very rainy city, but in those summer months it is a beautiful time. And you can, once you finish work, you do have a lot more time to spend time with friends, go running, drink some terrible American coffee, whatever that may be. And here in the West, we have some of the most beautiful beaches in the world. We have a very laid back and relaxed lifestyle. And the push over here is really trying to maximize that time and the lifestyle and environment that we have. More time at the beaches, walking the dog, seeing friends, whatever that may be.
So let's come back home then. So that's the situation in the US. You, this time last year, I think it was, were elected to Western Australian Parliament as the leader, a member of the Daylight Saving Party. I think it's kind of says what it is on the tin there, really. So what is it you want to see here in Western Australia?
Yeah, so obviously, first and foremost, the introduction of daylight saving would be fantastic. We've had a few referendums on the issue. The last one was over 10 years ago, and it was defeated marginally. I think it was about around 54%. But since then, we have seen a higher concentration of people in those urban and coastal areas that have historically been supportive of the shift for daylight saving. And here in the West currently, we are struggling in a number of sectors, especially hospitality and retail, with the restriction in trading hours, and also obviously with the pandemic as well. And we do have some of those beautiful beaches in the world, and it's really trying to shift the clocks, maximize the afternoon time, appreciate the lifestyle and the landscape that we do have and take for granted here in the West, and help our businesses that really need a boost in these troubling times.
So excuse my ignorance. So at the moment, WA doesn't change its clocks twice a year. Is that right?
That's correct, yes.
So WA doesn't do it and Queensland doesn't do it. Is that right?
That's right, yes. We sort of end up in this bit of a time zone hell in the summer months when Victoria and some of those other states shift, and we have 5 different time zones, which is a little bit unwieldy. Here in the West, we are very beholden to the eastern seaboard when it comes to the time zone, and there becomes a 3-hour difference from WA to Victoria. Last week, I jumped on a flight to see my family over in Melbourne, and you're basically burning that entire day getting on that flight and getting off. and shifting across to the Victorian time. And it is only 1 hour, but it really does make a significant difference.
You do make up the time on the other way, though.
Yes, that's true. Yeah, probably even down the wash, but you certainly feel worse for wear. And during the pandemic, we are moving to a more distributed and really location agnostic working environment. So time zones really do play a massive part when it comes to doing business. And that 1 hour does make a massive, massive difference.
So what you're calling for in WA is different to what they're doing in the US. So in the US, they would be getting rid of the annual changing of the clocks twice a year, and they're going to stick with the daylight savings time. So you change your clock once, and then that's it forever. Is that right?
Yes. Yep. That's correct. So most of the states are moving to permanent, what they're dubbing as permanent daylight saving time. So they're really trying to maximize those daylight hours in the afternoon and align waking hours with essentially working hours. So they're moving to a more uniform approach. That would be fantastic, and I certainly endorse that step, and I think it would work. Obviously, we need the federal government on board, but here in the West, I'm certainly pushing for the introduction of daylight saving in the West, which I think is a little bit more realistic, and we still get those benefits when we talk about lifestyle and health benefits that have been really well reported in the West. In the last trial, there were a few reports conducted by the West Australian government that did show a lot of health and wellness benefits during those daylight saving trial periods.
You've been in Parliament for a year now, Wilson Tucker. Have you had much of a welcome reception with these ideas in the Parliament? Obviously, the lower house, is very, very much held by the McGowan government. Has there been a reception there for your plan for daylight savings change?
Look, the government is I think we move very slowly here in the West, and we are a little bit change agnostic.
So that's a no.
Raised the issue several times, and I plan on making a lot more noise this year. In love, life, and politics, timing really is everything, and it was more of a case of finding my feet and getting up to speed last year and this year. I expect to see some noise on the issue, and hopefully I can progress it. Let's put it back on the calendar and really start making some noise. There's been a fresh push over in Queensland, which is fantastic to see. And I plan to do the same here in the West.
Well, I suppose TikTok, the countdown is on. Wilson Tucker, thanks so much for your time. Daylight Saving Party MP in the WA Upper House, Wilson Tucker there. Rather novel push. Anyway.